that for the last 20 years, anyone getting into rare earth processing has been buying Chinese machinery, Chinese equipment, Chinese manuals, and bringing Chinese engineers to their country or their location to show them. In the last few months, and certainly as of now, this is all forbidden. No machinery can be exported. No Chinese citizen may assist a foreign company in any aspect of the rare earth. And the Chinese have all the cards, and they don't feel like dealing them out. So we are, in the near term, screwed. We have failed to recreate that industry. We've talked a good game. We haven't done it. China has the industry. We need their products. Our military needs some of them. Our civilian market needs them. We can't do it. Okay? We need their help. They are saying, what are you willing to give for that? Right now, they're saying, you said you wanted to do it? Go ahead and do it.
Today, we have world-renowned critical minerals expert and, of course, rare earth global expert, Jack Lifton.
I think that President Trump has done this to avoid looking bad, to avoid humiliation. Because in this trade war, China's got all the cards. Not only do they currently produce the lion's share of the world's rare earths, they process even more than that share into end-user products. So what the Chinese have done in the last few days, and things that took effect immediately, and some of these rules take effect November 25th, is essentially cut the West off from technology, from processing technology. That's very important, because I think on a business level, this is to stifle competition, because all we talk about in the United States and Europe is restarting or reshoring or some other nonsense about the rare earth permanent magnet industry. Yet we have not done any of that. We talk about it. To do it, we need in the near term to do it as soon as possible. We need Chinese machinery and some Chinese advice. Okay, because for the last 30 years, the Chinese have been nonstop developing these industries. We have stopped those industries cold in the West. The one or two companies, one in Europe and one in Great Britain, that still make rare earth permanent magnets and rare earth metals and alloys are so tiny a part of the global market that they're unimportant. They really are. Okay. So we don't have that industry anymore. China dominates and has that industry. A distant second is Japan, and an extremely distant third is Korea. We've awarded $1 trillion to this one, and we're giving that one a higher price than the world market so that they will have a reason to produce. And this one's going to make magnets, and that one's going to make metals. And all of this has been, quite frankly, an air heating exercise, because none of these choices have any experience in doing what they're talking about, and have any track record, and quite frankly, don't have any experienced, skilled people. I think what people don't understand is that for the last 20 years, anyone getting into rare earth processing has been buying Chinese machinery, Chinese equipment, Chinese manuals, and bringing Chinese engineers to their country or their location to show them. In the last few months, and certainly as of now, this is all forbidden. No machinery can be exported. No Chinese citizen may assist a foreign company in any aspect of the rare earth industry. Now, the Chinese say this, of course, only applies to dual-use materials. What does that mean? That they can be used not only for civilian purposes, but also for military purposes. But the Chinese are the ones who decide whether or not the product has a dual use. And as of now, any Chinese company that wants to export, for example, a rare earth permanent magnet to the United States, has to prove to the Chinese government that that magnet will not be used in a military application. Now, those who are all upset about this seem to forget that the United States prohibited the export of chips, specialty chips, to China last year. Okay? Because we were concerned that the Chinese would, one, get ahead of us in things like automation, robotics, and AI, and two, use those specialty chips in advanced military hardware. So, what's sauce for the goose seems to be sauce for the gander. Okay. Now, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, President Trump is concerned with optics, as they say. He doesn't want to look bad. In this case, we cannot restart or recreate our rare earth permanent magnet industry in America without Chinese machinery in the short term. Can we develop these machines and train ourselves in these technologies? Sure. We could probably do that in 5 or 10 years. Okay? You can't do it overnight. We just don't have the people. There's no continuity in North America or Europe of these technologies. Our financializers gave it all over to China in order to get a lower cost. And in the meantime, they just said to those who work in those industries, learn how to code, do something else, work in McDonald's or Starbucks. They didn't give a damn. And now this is turned around and is biting us in the ass. Trump knows this. He doesn't want to be embarrassed. I don't know if he understands that his Department of War, Energy, Commerce, Interior have not done a very good job. I'm not saying they could have done a good job. They were suddenly told, you have to bring this industry back to the United States. And no one said, how do you do that? No one asked, what are the steps? What are the choke points? They just said, hey, here's a guy, he just walked in here. Look, he's wearing bespoke shoes and he's got a custom-made suit. And he says he works on Wall Street and that he can make magnets. Let it be so, they said in Washington. And now, excuse the metaphor, the chickens come home to roost. The Chinese have all the cards and they don't feel like dealing them out. So we are, in the near term, screwed. We have failed to recreate that industry. We've talked a good game. We haven't done it. China has the industry. We need their products. Our military needs some of them. Our civilian market needs them. We can't do it. Okay? We need their help. They are saying, what are you willing to give for that? Right now, they're saying, you said you wanted to do it? Go ahead and do it. We are not so big a market for Chinese rare earth products that they can't live without us. 80% of rare earths produced in China are consumed in China. Yes, some of it's for export, but there's other export markets. What do you think the Belt and Road Initiative has been about for the last 20 years? China's created an Asian and near Asian marketplace, which is quite large. And if they lose the American rare earth magnet market, for example, what do they lose? Maybe 5% of their production. So what? That's what this is all about.
Hot list, starting with holmium.
Holmium's used in making magnets, so that I understand it.
Erbium.
Erbium is used in fiber optics communications.
Thulium.
Thulium, I have no idea of any use for this.
Actually, it's been we've known each other a long time. I can't remember the last time we discussed thulium, so I'll be looking that one up this afternoon and reminding myself, probably call our friend Alistair Neal. Europium.
Europium is used in phosphors and therefore in lighting and displays. Okay.
And of course, ytterbium.
Ytterbium must have military uses because it was one of the two rare earths that in the teens of this century the U.S. Department of Defense was requiring. I never did find out why, but I don't know what the use of ytterbium is. Chinese have upped the ante today in their trade war with Donald Trump. What they've done is basically, the important part of what they've done is they've restricted or eliminated the export of processing equipment. Anything to do with processing rare earths, fabricating end-use forms, all of that is now stopped. And why is that important? I'll give you an example. The equipment that I saw in Estonia two weeks ago at the new Neo Performance Magnet plant was Chinese, but they made a issue when people said, well, it's Chinese, how did you do that? Because they no longer allow technology exports. The answer is the Chinese were allowing equipment to be exported, but no manuals, no technicians, nothing like that. You want to buy something out of a catalog, they were still doing it, and that equipment was there. As of now, as of the last few days, China has stopped that entirely and basically restricted the export of any and all rare earths with any dual use possibility. Dual use meaning it can be used for military as well as civilian products. And what's important here is that this really makes situations like, for example, when I visited Less Common Metals last December, I saw their of course their equipment was operational. They were showing me what they were doing, and the key piece of equipment was what's called a spin caster. Well, the interior of that machine was Chinese and the exterior Japanese. I asked why. They said, well, the Chinese make the best spin caster, but the furnace in which it's placed, the best one is Japanese. Well, that company has now changed hands, and it's been bought by the company USA Rare Earths. But in order to build a plant with that technology in Oklahoma or wherever they'd like to build it outside of the UK, they need equipment. Well, guess what? They cannot get any Chinese equipment. What does that mean? That means they'd have to design and build the equipment and test it and burn it in themselves. Well, I'm not saying that's not possible, but it could add years to the project. Why do I say that? Because although that type of equipment is not unknown in the West, it's not common. And so they're going to have to find a vendor, specify materials, specify operating temperatures, specify the length of time, maintenance schedules. That's going to take a long time, and they need specialists who are familiar with that type of equipment and manufacturing rare earth metals and alloys to be involved. I have no idea where they're going to find a herd of these people because there's so few of them today in the Western world. This is a huge problem, in my opinion, is that China knows exactly what it's doing. And I think I've said this before. The Chinese are battling 1-to-1 with Donald Trump. He's holding all the cards. Okay. I don't know what the United States plans to do, but I do know that the individual rare earth companies who are planning to expand into a total rare earth permanent magnet supply chain have a problem now. Where are they going to get the equipment? I've been talking to people about this for the last few years because yes, it's simple in theory to design all this equipment to process rare earths and manufacture rare earth enabled products. But the fact is you have to know operating temperatures, the materials of construction, because this type of processing uses very corrosive chemicals and corrosive situations. So you just can't use off-the-shelf equipment. For your information, in the last decade, I've seen 2 large-scale solvent extraction plants fail because of equipment failures. Basically, piping that was perforated and collapsed because the designers of the equipment did not know how corrosive the rare earth chemicals were in those process steps. I won't name the companies, but they were very large ones. And so this cost years and hundreds of millions of dollars to correct. But of course, at that time, Chinese engineers were in both companies helping to solve the problem because they'd seen it before, because they'd done it before. Okay. So now what's going to happen? Well, the market seems to be paying. The only thing they're doing in relation to this new Chinese move is raising the prices of the shares of all the rare earth companies. My God, the Chinese are going to cut us off. So these companies are going to be the solution. They are not the solution. They are the problem. What are they going to do without Chinese technology? I don't know, because I do know that almost universally these companies use Chinese equipment, and that ain't coming anymore.